Guys, welcome back to class. Okay, one of the things that I had spoke about in some of the previous lectures this year was that I feel like, man, through a lot of the class, I spend maybe too much time talking about battles and wars or big cultural movements and not enough time talking about just like individual personalized like interest stories or maybe things from pop culture like music. Well, last week we hit some of the 1950s rock and roll. Looked at like Chuck Berry and Elvis Presley, both huge cultural icons. Elvis, of course, does this new style of black music, rock and roll, but kind of makes it acceptable and palatable to white America and becomes really, I think, one of the first, like, just like mega superstar celebrities with kind of unparalleled success in star status until like maybe Michael Jackson does the same thing with pop music in the 1980s. Anyway, those guys that I just mentioned are two of the like top celebrities of all time. And I would say that they have kind of unparalleled success as like solo artists. Well, the 1960s are a crazy time for music. I think as we cover this decade, I'll be able to tie in a lot of really excellent music as that's going through kind of an evolution and just metamorphosis, just music in general and the culture. Because like I had said before, the 1960s end up being a really crazy decade where there's a lot of interesting stuff for us to hit. Anyway, we talked about those two top solo artists. Now let's look at the top band probably of all time, the Beatles. They form in 1960, end up, I think, really start hitting the world stage a little bit in the 1962, and then they make their American debut in 1964 and become just a cultural phenomenon. As a band, they kind of have, I think, unparalleled success, where I think you can kind of almost objectively say, rather than just my opinion, but I think objectively, most historians would agree, and just people in general, that the Beatles are probably the biggest band of all time. They were doing a new style of music in a decade that where the world and America were just changing. Now, you might like their style, you might not. They're not my favorite band of all time, but I do think I have a ton of respect for them, and you can see the impact, the imprint that they made on America and the rest of the world, I think still lasts to this day, where they've had their songs covered more than any other band. They've sold more records to date than any other band in history, and even though it's many years since the band has broken up, and only two of the four main band members are still alive today, you can just still have a ton of name recognition. So without me babbling too much more, now I want you to go through and just view the videos in the order that I have them attached. You can skip through some if any of the particular songs aren't your style, but I just want you to get a feel for kind of the flavor of the Beatles, and know that, man, when they hit the stage, they were just popular beyond belief. And you'll see that some of the videos that I showed, it'll pan out to the crowd and you'll see some of the fans and stuff, which I think that's probably one of the most interesting parts of what I've included for you. So kick back, watch the rest of these. I hope you enjoy it. Today's a pretty easy day. I'm not dumping any like work or written assignments on you. Just a lot of different videos to watch. So hopefully you like this stuff on the Beatles, and then be ready. I'll probably include some information on them on a future quiz or some upcoming assignments. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about that, but please view most of these videos. At least click on each one and watch a little bit of it before you move on to whatever you're doing for your next class. All right.